Good morning. Good morning. This is Binyam on the Bin Checkin In podcast. Today is August the 5th, 2021. You are listening to episode 25 on the Bin Checkin In podcast. Today we are answering the question, are you as confident as you'd like? And how can you improve your self-confidence? Looking forward to getting into this episode today on the Bin Checkin In podcast. Thank you for joining in. I'm seeing friends coming in on the YouTube live stream, the Instagram live stream, and the TikTok live stream. So those are the three platforms I'm live streaming on. I'm also currently recording as well on Spotify. And so that's where you can find episodes of the Bin Checkin In podcast. The Bin Checkin In podcast exists for three reasons. The following three reasons are: one, to grow in self-awareness of ourselves. That's a really helpful thing. I want to do better at that, and I want to invite you to do that with me. We do that by asking me self-reflective questions. Secondly, to learn to be kind to ourselves. This is something that we don't do very well. I think in general, even myself, I'm continuing to work at this discipline, but it's a really important one. And then finally, it's also to maximize our happiness, because happiness is a fun place to be, but it's not to say to the exclusion of all the other emotions. It is to say, in addition to all the other emotions we want to experience this life. So those are the three aims of why we spend time doing what we do here on the Bin Checkin In podcast. So I'm thrilled to have you joining with us today. And I see you guys coming in. It's fantastic to see you all. Glad to see you, Reese. Hello, Lucas and Ollie. I see you all there. Dara, nice to see you again. It's been a while. Glad to have you back. Hello, Frank. Thanks for joining in on the Bin Checkin In podcast. Again, today we are answering the question, are you as confident as you would like? And how can you improve your self-confidence? This is one of those questions that helps us reflect on what personal growth for us looks like, because we're all about growing, especially growing in self-awareness. So let's dive in today on this episode of the Bin Checkin In podcast. I spend the first few moments usually just assessing the question, seeing the merits of why we should be considering this question. What are some good elements of the question where it's got me thinking as I reflect on, why is this really helpful for me to focus on? And so let's just spend a few moments doing that together. By all means, feel free to share some of your thoughts as we do this together. Feel free to share some of your thoughts as in, here's why I think this is really important. I would love to hear them as you write them in the comments. Hello, Julie. Nice to see you, my friend. Thanks for joining in. So, are you as confident as you would like to be? Let's maybe talk about the word confidence first and foremost, because I think we have different assessments or ideas of what confidence looks like. For some of us, confidence may look like having guts, not caring what anyone feels or thinks about what we say or do. That might be some of our assessments or perceptions of what confidence looks like. For others, confidence might be a little bit more downplayed. It might be that you don't have to make a big scene, but you can be self assured of where you're coming from, where you're going, what you're about. That can be the sense of confidence for some. To tell you the truth, I haven't even checked beforehand what a proper definition of confidence looks like. But at the very heart of it, it seems like to have this air about you, this sense about you, whereby you are in your power in some sense, where you are able to navigate and communicate and express from your vantage point without fear or a reference of others' perspectives. Confidence is one of those things we think and say, it would be nice to have that. It'd be nice to experience that because it seems so elusive. And I think it seems so elusive because when we live in community, one of the ways we've grown up for most of us is to be in reference to others and thinking and saying, hey, what does it look like for me to operate from a vantage point where I'm accepted by others, where I am not judged by others, where I'm not going to stick out like a sore thumb? What would it look like for me to fit in? So most of us have been brought up in this context where we've just been brought up to sort of be like everyone else around us and to not rock the boat. And that is I think there are elements there that are okay and appropriate, but then there's also expressions of that in which I feel are unhelpful. And those elements that I don't feel are as helpful in reference to confidence in our pursuit of trying to experience what confidence looks like is what does it look like for us to be able to fully feel that sense that we can express whatever's on our mind and our hearts and not fear what people are going to say or think about us because we thought that. That's something of the gist when I think of what confidence for me looks like. What does it look like for me to navigate in this world from a reference point where I'm the one who is the primary influence in being able to express whatever I need to? And why this is important for me is for the longest time, I didn't live in that zone. And so I'm going to get to that in a little bit when I express some of what goes into this consideration of what confidence looks like for me. Even as I answer, are you as confident as you would like to be? So, confidence, in short, I would say, is that sense of being able to express with self assurance one's perspectives, thoughts, beliefs, ideas, etc. That's what I'm thinking of in reference to this confidence piece. Um, are you as confident as you would like? This seems to imply that there are different levels of confidence that people come to the table with. Some people may have like a feeling they have no confidence at all. They're like very much dependent on other people's ideas, perspectives, assessments, thoughts, convictions. So that might be where some people are at. Others might be like really full of confidence to the point that even those who perceive them are like, that person is a little overconfident. I was thinking about an example when I said that. I love mountain biking. I love biking in general, really. And as I was biking, I'm always on the lookout. Whenever I'm biking, I'm always on the lookout on the road for are there any other bikers because I feel a little bit of competitive edge, and so I always want to compare my skill in cycling to others on the road. And so I'll see, can I catch up to that person? Can I make it seem effortless as I pass them by and I, totally school them? And I have never seen anyone on the road. And this happened for years. Finally, this is about a few years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago. I had some friends who were joining a biking race, a mountain biking race. I've never done a mountain biking race before. I hadn't biked for a long time, but I was pretty confident in my abilities. So I said, I'll sign up. There were 3 tiers for this biking course. There's basic, there's intermediate, and then there's the advanced level. And as I signed up for this biking course, I wasn't sure which of the tiers my friends had signed up for. But I said, oh, they're probably signing up for the top tier, the advanced. And I think I can handle that too. So with confidence, I went right on there and I signed up for that advanced tier. Okay, man, I'll get to your question in just a sec. Hang tight, my dear friend. I signed up for the advanced one. And then I found out a day later that my friends had actually signed up for the intermediate one. They're like, no way we're signing up for the advanced. That's like killer. But I felt still pretty confident that I could handle myself. And so on the day of the race, I lined up with everyone. Everyone seemed to know each other because this is a tight community. And here's the new guy who just rolls up with the advanced team. And they're like, who is this guy? Does he have what it takes? And I felt pretty confident still. And as soon as the race started, we were off. I was able to keep up with the leading crew for the first, I don't know, kilometer or so before the hills started coming. And then that's when I started having trouble. And I started having trouble because I was struggling to keep up with them. Why? Because as they were going up the hill, they were just really pushing it. And I was like, oh man. And as they were doing so, oh my goodness. I was just hanging on. And then we hit the technical section. For you who do not know, the technical section is this part of the course where it's almost like an obstacle course. It's like muddy, it's wet, it's slippery. There's logs all over the place. There's sharp turns, steep inclines, and so you're doing this as fast as you can. And these guys were like gone, and I was trying to do it. Let me tell you, every time I hit that technical section, my bike went from one end to the other, and I just kept flipping over and over and over, and that's what happened there. And needless to say, I didn't finish the race. I tried. I did not finish the race. And it was very humbling, extremely humbling, because I knew I'd bitten off way more than I can chew. I was overconfident. I came with a huge sense of confidence and left with none. Oh, it was a very good training experience for me. Came in asks, "Hey, by the way, Redskins, any advice on how to balance work and social life?" Oh, mm, 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 mm. Let me think about that for a moment, Kim. That's a really good question. Really great question. Let me get back to it, my dear friend Kim, because that's a really good question that I like to think through as I continue to reflect on some of my other thoughts. So, confidence. Some of us have a lot more of it, others do not have as much. Some have an over exaggerated amount of confidence where they feel they're really able to handle whatever it is that they're taking on, in a sense that they may do what I did, and that's bite off more than you can chew. Others may have less confidence than they think they're bringing to the table. And I think in those scenarios and contexts, they could probably be encouraged to step up because they have what it takes, but they just don't feel like they have it, right? It might be in the context of relationships, it might be in the context of some activity or at the workplace, perhaps. They have the competence, but they don't have the confidence. They have the competence, which means they're able to do whatever it is in front of them, but they don't have the confidence, which says, I'm going to go for this. And so there's those different levels. And that's what I see in this question when it says, are you as confident as you would like to be? This is more a subjective question and saying, hey, where are you at with reference point of your level of confidence that you're coming with? Are you happy with it? Are you content? Or would you like to see more? Are you in that zone where you're like, man, I feel like I'm faltering. I feel like I'm like spinning my wheels and I'd like to have more confidence. What does that look like for you? And then I love also the second part of the question, which asks, how can you improve your self confidence? And this implies that we are still in an area of growth in this realm of considering what our confidence looks like. Why is that? Because as we go forward in life, I think there's that element where we want to become better versions of ourselves. We want to become more competent at doing this thing called life. Life is really complicated and confusing sometimes. And sometimes we're like, spinning our wheels trying to figure out, oh man, I thought I knew how to do this, but now I don't know if I do. And I know in my own reference point, I've recently come up with an area that I'm like, oh, I didn't see this on the radar. And this for me is significant because it kind of gets me at the very core of my identity. And so I'll share a little bit about how I struggle with my self confidence as I answer this question. But those are some reflections I have as I consider these questions. One, confidence, that sense of being self-assured of what you're facing as you're about to engage in, whether it's relationships, whether it's work context, whether it's physical activity like sports or something along the lines, whatever that looks like by way of a challenge, that confidence that enables you to rise up to the occasion and say, bring it on. Secondly, that this is one of those questions where there's different levels from different individuals, and it really depends on the person and where they're coming from. What does that self-confidence look like, and how can we make space for that expression of their self-confidence? It's not me saying, hey, I don't think you should have that much confidence. It's me saying, hey, where do you feel as you reference with yourself, as you check in with yourself, where is that level of confidence for you? And finally, that we can continue to improve in this area. We can continue to grow in confidence. We can continue to say, hell yes, I am at a different place at this point than I was a year ago. And that's why I'm so thrilled you're a part of this um, episode on this podcast, because this is where we're aiming for. This is where we want to strive for in our experience together of saying, what does it look like for us to grow in confidence this way? Does that make sense, you guys? I hope so. I'm just having someone here. Oh, there we are. Okay, so let me dive into my answer in this question and how it makes sense for me with relation to, am I as confident as I would like? I would say, hell yes. I'm in a season of life right now where I'm so grateful for. I feel like I have a really strong sense of or degree of confidence that really enables me. It really enables me to be able to engage my world around me, the people I'm interacting with and communicating with. It gives me this sense of equality. My sense of confidence enables me to step up and say, hey, how's it going? For example, I was talking to my sister last night. We were hanging out together because we're considering moving in together, and we were looking at some places. And we had a really interesting conversation. And part of that conversation was with reference to beautiful people. She asked me a question. She said, hey, these new shows, these reality shows where they have relationships at the very heart of it, they'll stick a whole bunch of really attractive guys and girls on the same island and see what happens as they bring in some dynamics. Like you can't have any, sort of intimate and intimacy expressed or whatever, and so they just want to see how long they can last, or who's going to hook up with who, or that kind of stuff. And considered as I considered the idea that my sister was asking, and the question she was asking me was, "Would you be willing to be a part of these shows if they ever asked you?" I said, "Hell yes." And why for me? Because I feel this sense of confidence that I don't lose my tongue or my mind or my thought process when I'm interacting with someone really gorgeous or attractive. Once upon a time, I used to, but now my sense of self confidence says, "Hey, you're gorgeous, but that's about it. Let's find out about your personality. What does that look like? And how can we engage in this level of equality? Yes, you may be gorgeous, but you're just as equal with me, a human being, as I am. And we're still trying to figure out what this life looks like together. And we're going to make a really good go of that." And so I feel that this sense of confidence has enabled me to be able to do what I do with people. And that is, I love connecting with people in meaningful ways. I love connecting with them and asking the questions that others would be saying, would never dare to ask that question. Does that make sense? That's how my sense of self confidence evolves and expresses itself. Lucas says, "I'm confident in many aspects, but lacking confidence in new things and probably relationships." That totally makes sense. That's a really good way, Lucas, of succinctly describing what this looks like. Um, and I think I'd be the same way. I'm growing in my confidence in so many things. I can handle so many scenarios because I've walked through them, I've practiced what that looks like, and I've now been able to engage at that level, right? That's a really great point, Lucas. Lucas, or K-Man, let me get back to your question now. It says, "Any advice on how to balance work and social life?" I think there's an element of confidence that even plays into this. Confidence in being able to say, "Here's how I'm going to portion my time. I'm going to give this much time for this because I value this as a priority, and I value this one here lesser in priority in the amount of time I'm going to give it." So, as far as the balancing of work and social life, I think it's really important to be able to identify the parameters of how it serves you. When you do your work stuff, how much enjoyment do you have? How much does it deplete you energy wise? Does it fill up your tank? Does it give you that sense of purpose? And how much time do you want to give to it? And then the balance is really important, like you're saying, that balance that enables you to say, "Hey, this amount of work with this amount of social life is what is my happy medium." And I think it's one of those things, came in, that it depends on the individual from person to person. How they're going to be able to apportion those times is really critical. So having a sense of confidence in being able to experiment and say, "This definitely works. This does not work. How does this express itself this way?" Those are some elements I would probably suggest, K-Man, that would really be helpful in you finding out how to be able to apportion those times together. So it might turn out that you really thrive off of 10 hours of work and 2 hours of social time. That might be your happy medium. Or it might be you would rather have 7 hours of work and like 6 hours of social time. And so that's how I sort of process that element of balance. And I love how you're saying that word balance, because that's a really important part of that dynamic, isn't it, K-Man? That element of saying, what does this look like for me to be able to do just enough that serves me? So, Lucas, or sorry, K-Man, I would say explore, experiment what that looks like for yourself. Experiment, especially by way of saying, "Hey, this is what is my happy medium here." And play with it for a couple months and see what best serves you so you're feeling productive and also well served socially. So no, so that's what I would say, my man. Ian just got a job interview. Amazing. Another context in which many people are like, "I wish I had confidence." I remember on one of my Uber rides, I was with this lady. Hey, you too, K-Man. Thanks for being in this chat here. Um, I was gonna say, there's a woman that was driving in my Uber one time, and she was on her way to her job interview, and so she was feeling nervous. So I gave her some confidence, and the way I did that was just by reminding her a couple of things. And this might help you as well, my friend Ian. If you're about to head in for your job interview and you're a little nervous about how you're going to do, what's the dynamic going to look like? Can I remind you something? You got this interview already because they've checked out your resume and they're already liking what they see. They want to get to know more of you. And so, in getting to know more of you, you're walking into this setting where they have already given you a thumbs up already in what they've seen on paper. So, if that affirmation that they've already approved of you, in the beginning, to even bring you in for an interview and meet you in person. It's their way of saying, "We want to get to know you more. We want to understand you more. We want to see you more, how you operate." And so that's already like a, whoa, oh, this is a great thing. Oh, you already finished that. That's great. I would love to hear how it went, Ian. But for those of you who are in such a dynamic context where you're about to head off for an interview or some sort of assessment, remember, those individuals are just as equal as you. They put on their pants one foot on a time. They sit down on the toilet just as you and I would to relieve ourselves. They are just humans like you and I who are really trying to figure out how to connect, right? And so let that be incentive for you to grow in confidence that you got what it takes and they really want to see your personality. That's the thing that you cannot, that's the thing you cannot buy is your personality because you are who you are. Present yourself as you are and let them experience a full flavor because that's the thing that makes you the most attractive, I would argue. So, a little bit of encouragement and boosting of confidence for some of you. Hello, my dear Matt. I know I'm not sure if I recognize you, but glad to have you back. Thank you for being here again. I so appreciate you guys being here in this conversation. But yes, let me answer my question quickly here because time is running away on me, but I'm loving the engagement from you guys today. Are you as confident as you like to be? I would say, hell yes. I feel a sense of confidence. My strong area in life is interacting socially with people. I feel really confident. That's why I do so well in my Uber job. So, as I engage in confidence there, what are the areas that I want to grow and improve in my self confidence? Well, I would say that I deal with people in a very competent way. I'm able to interact with them in this strong level of confidence where I don't have any inhibitions or like feelings of like I'm not good enough. I'm like, no, I'm good enough. I'm an equal with them, and I want to see them as an equal, and I want to engage them and give them that right of hey, collaboration and camaraderie as a fellow human being. That's what gives me like my greatest sense of confidence is seeing as we are all equal, and I want to engage them at that level and saying, I want to get to know you if you're on the same page as well. And so that is really fantastic. The area of confidence that I've recently come to see that I struggle in still was an area that was hidden from me until about a year and a half ago when it finally all of a sudden came up and I was like, where did this come from? But here it is, and I got to deal with this. And yikes, I got some work to do on this front here. So, in relation to that, thank you, my man, Lucas. I appreciate the love. In relation to that area of confidence that I'm still experiencing some deficit in, it has to do with an area for me of rejection when I feel like I'm being rejected by those who are close to me. It may be unintentional, it may be things that I'm misinterpreting, but when I feel those evidences, I'm like, it hits me like right in the deep spots here. And so I've realized that for many years I've engaged socially in a way where I don't have to be rejected in this painful way. And now that it's been brought to my attention again, I'm seeing it come up. I'm having to be a lot more watchful of when its expression comes into being and how I want to respond to that expression, saying, no, I don't want to be a part of that sense of feeling that I am less than, especially by way of being rejected. And so that's a vulnerable spot for me. And as I see it, I'm saying I have some work to do in that area. I want to know what it's like for me to come to awareness and acknowledgement that this exists and how I'm going to move forward with reference to it. So that's an area that I'm like, oh, that's a scary place for me. And I want to focus some attention there to see how I can get better. Where is the thing where I can donate money? Oh, you're so kind, 2K chump. I really appreciate that. If you can hang on for just a couple more minutes, I'm going to let you know how you can be a part of what I'm doing and how you can help support me financially as well. I would love for you to be part of what I'm doing. So thank you for that kind question, and I'll let you know in just a second. So, confidence, what a topic today. Some of us have tons of it, others do not. Some perceive others to have lots of it, when those very individuals whom they perceive have lots of it are really struggling in it because we sometimes give, actually, we often give our strongest, most confident front when inside we're really, really feeling, I want more confidence. And so, this is one of those subjective things. The question today does not relates to how you think others have their confidence. It relates to how you have your confidence. Where are you at as you assess your confidence level? Are you at a satisfactory level of confidence where you're content with it, or do you desire more confidence? And um, and when you're thinking about how you're evolving and growing as an individual human being. What does that look like for you to grow in confidence? I think it's a really important thing that we don't stay stagnant, but we continue to increase in our amount of confidence because we're getting better at this thing called life. We're getting better at the way we communicate with one another. We're getting better at the way we are giving ourselves away in vulnerability in judicious ways there. These are all elements I think that really help in confidence. Love this conversation today. This is a really good, a really good one, a really important one, I believe, because it gives us that element of understanding how do we grow in our ability to be aware of ourselves and how we're engaged in this world. This is, I think, why I love what I'm doing with this podcast. This podcast is really meaningful, important for me, because in this podcast, we're able to give each other a gift. We're able to give each other a gift of attention. We're able to give each other a gift of affirmation. We're able to give each other the gift of recognition that our existence does matter, that the way we're wired is totally legitimate. When I'm stuck often, says Corey, I often think, what would Biniam do? That's really, really thoughtful. Thank you, Corey. I appreciate that. I hope to inspire you guys. And so let me answer your question too, Kate. You're asking, well, where is this thing where I can donate money? I've taken down my Patreon. I don't have a Patreon running at the moment. But what I do have is I've got my website, biniamasters.com, biniamasters.com. And on my website, I'm intentionally building a community. I want this to be a powerful expression of a community whereby we're able to encourage one another. We're able to inspire each other. We're able to collaborate with each other for our benefit and for our good. How do we do this? By the three things we're already doing on this podcast here. Listen, the reason I'm doing this podcast, the reason I'm building this community on my website is to grow in self-awareness. We want to grow aware of what's going on here so we know how to engage this beautiful world around us, this challenging world around us, this confusing world around us. I want to learn what it's like to also learn to be kind to ourselves. We don't do this very well. We're often really hard on ourselves. We're super nice to other people around us and gracious with them, but we're often super ruthless with ourselves and we rip ourselves apart. So, what does it look like for us to be kind to ourselves? How can we learn to do that in community together? And finally, how can we maximize our happiness? I like being happy, but to get to your happiness, we got to deal with some stuff that is like neglected in our own sphere of reference points. So, what does that look like? I want to do that in community. My website, 2K Chump, has a membership tier. I'd love to invite you to join there and be a part of what I'm doing. I'm so excited about what that looks like as we go forward. I would love to have you guys join. If you haven't done that yet, do that today. Go check out my website, biniamasters.com. Check out the membership tier there. Sign up for one of those tiers and let's start building into each other because that is so worthwhile to me. This is what I would say life is really about. And I would love to be able to experience what that looks like with you guys. I would love to be able to join in with you guys in this endeavor together. And I think that would be super, super swell. So join the biniamasters.com website, membership there. There's a few different tiers. Check out the one that would serve you best. For now, it is time for me to say goodbye. It is a Thursday. I call my Thursdays Baby Friday. I hope you have a fantastic one. Thank you for joining in, being a part of this podcast. Do you know this podcast is, I have no doubt it's going to blow up. It's going to blow up. Right now, we're at a few listeners, a few handful of listeners. I value each and every one of you. And I'm going to remember you as the ones who came in the very beginning. I'm going to remember your parts that you were playing in engaging and participating. It's going to be fantastic as we continue to grow and as our membership community continues to grow too. But I would love to have you guys continue to join in a more intentional and integrated way. I will definitely remember you, my dear friend Corey, when I'm huge. It means a lot that you guys are here. So I want to express my appreciation for you guys. Thank you. I really appreciate and adore you guys. I will see you guys. Next to Gary B, only less aggressive, says Corey. Thank you, Corey. I will see you guys tomorrow's on tomorrow's podcast. Thanks for being here today. Bye for now.